Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your one-stop shop for all things rare coins and collectibles. If you've been scouring your change jar or flipping through your old coin collections, you might have come across a 1951 Lincoln penny and wondered, could this coin be worth more than just 1 cent? Well, today, we're going to answer that question and reveal how a simple penny from 1951 could be worth hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars. So, let's get started. Now, a regular 1951 penny is worth, well, just 1 penny. But what if I told you there are some key variations and errors in the 1951 Lincoln penny series that could make it a valuable collector's item? Stay tuned as we uncover how to identify these rare coins and what they could be worth today. Rarest coins to understand why the 1951 Lincoln penny could be worth a lot more than its face value. Let's start with a little history. The Lincoln penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, the design has undergone a few changes, but it has remained a symbol of American currency for over a century. In 1951, the penny still featured the famous sweet ears design on the reverse side, a motif that had been in use since 1909. This design was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial, but in 1951, it was still very much a staple of American currency. So, what's the deal with the 1951 penny, and why are some versions of it so valuable? Well, there's a lot more to this coin than just its state and design. Let's dive into the specifics. Alright, so before we get into the errors and rare versions of the 1951 penny, let's first talk about the basic versions of this coin. There are 2 types of 1951 Lincoln pennies that you'll come across: the 1951 plain penny and the 1951 penny. The plain version of the 1951 penny was minted as the Philadelphia Mint, and it doesn't have any mint mark, just a clean, plain 1951 stamped on the obverse. The 1951 penny, on the other hand, was minted as the Denver Mint, and it has a small D mint mark located just below the date. Now, in general, both of these coins are fairly common, meaning they aren't worth a fortune in most cases. In fact, in typical circulated condition, they're worth only a few cents over face value. $2 million rarest coins. A 1951 penny in low-grade circulated condition usually fetches around 10 to 25 cents, while a coin in higher grades, like MS-63 or MS-64, can be worth between $2 to $5. Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. The first big variation of the 1951 penny that can be worth a lot more is the 1951 D over mint mark error. This rare coin has an extra mint mark over the D mint mark. It looks like there's a S mint mark stamped over the D, which means it was struck with the die that had been used for 1951 S penny. This mistake happened when the Denver Mint was using an S mint mark die that was either not fully polished or reworked incorrectly, causing the D mint mark to be double impressed with an S underneath it. The result is a fascinating and very collectible error coin. Rarest coins. These 1951 D over mint mark coins are extremely rare, and if you're lucky enough to find one in your collection, it could be worth between $300 and $500 in decent condition. In higher grades, they can fetch upwards of $1,000 or more at auction. Now, let's talk about T. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your go-to place for all things coins, collectibles, and numismatics. If you're a fan of hunting for valuable coins or just curious about what your pocket change could be worth, today's video is for you. We're diving deep into one specific penny, the 1969 D Lincoln penny, an often overlooked coin that might just be worth way more than you think. Now, you may have some 1969 D pennies lying around in your collection or even in your spare change jar, and you're probably wondering, could one of them be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars? Well, it turns out that answer is yes, but only if you know what to look for. Let's take a closer look at the story behind this penny and why it's a sought-after treasure in the world of coin collecting. First, A little history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, it's been the go-to penny for Americans, with multiple variations and design changes over the years. The 1969 penny is part of the series that began in 1959 with the modern Lincoln design, which features a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The D on the coin indicates that it was minted at the Denver Mint. Rarest coins. But here's the kicker. While most 1969 pennies are worth just 1 cent, there's a rarer version of this coin that could be worth a lot more. Let's talk about the rare, valuable version, the 1969 double-die obverse penny. What makes this coin so special? Well, it's all thanks to a minting error known as the double die phenomenon. A double die occurs when the coin dia, basically the stamp used to imprint the design onto the coin, is misaligned during the minting process. This causes the design to appear doubled, meaning the letters and numbers on the coin are printed in 2 places. On the 1969 penny, this error is most noticeable on the lettering of Liberty, the date 1969, and the phrase "In God We Trust." Collectors refer to this particular error as the double die obverse because the doubling happens on the obverse side of the coin, or the side with Lincoln's portrait. The most noticeable doubling can be seen around the date and the word Liberty, which will have a distinct split or shadow effect. Rarest coins. So, how do you spot a 1969 Lincoln penny with a double die error? Well, it's not always easy, but there are a few key things you can look for. First, focus on the date 1969, specifically the 6 and 9. On a true double die penny, these digits will show noticeable doubling, especially on the upper and lower parts of the numbers. If you see a clear shadow or a second set of digits, you might have a valuable coin on your hands. Next, check the word Liberty. This is often the most obvious area to spot the doubling. The L, I, and B should have noticeable secondary impressions, and you may also see doubling on the R and T. Don't forget about "In God We Trust." You may also find some doubling on the T and R in trust, though it's typically less pronounced than on Liberty or the date. Rarest coins. Okay, now for the big question, what is the 1969 double die penny worth? Well, the value depends on the condition of the coin, but let's break it down. A 1969 penny in regular condition is worth about 1 cent, just like a. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your go-to spot for everything coins and collectibles. Have you ever wondered if the 1976 Lincoln penny could be worth more than just its 1 cent value? If you've been holding onto some old pennies, especially from 1976, you might have a hidden treasure just waiting to be discovered. Today, we're diving deep into the 1976 Lincoln penny and exploring how certain versions of this coin could be worth a lot of money. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your coin collection. So, let's get started. The 1976 penny may seem like an ordinary coin, but trust me, it's far from it when you know the key details that can make it worth hundreds, maybe even thousands, of dollars. First, let's set the stage with some history. The 1976 Lincoln penny is part of the bicentennial year for the United States, marking 200 years of independence. So, we're talking about a pretty important year in American history. The U.S. Mint struck over billions of these coins in 1976, with the D mint mark denoting that it was minted in Denver. Rarest coins. Just like most of the pennies produced after 1959, the 1976 Lincoln penny features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, front, side, and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, back, side. The design of the penny remained largely unchanged for decades, making it a staple in American coinage. Now, while a regular 1976 penny in circulation may not seem like a big deal, It's what's hidden beneath the surface that could turn this coin into a rare collector's item. And there are some really interesting variations of the 1976 penny that could make it worth far more than just 1 cent. Let's break down the specifics. Let's start by talking about the typical value of a regular, run-of-the-mill 1976 Lincoln penny. In general, most 1976 pennies found in circulation won't fetch much more than their face value, maybe 2 to 5 cents. Even in average condition, they're still common, as millions were produced. On the high end, a 1976 penny in uncirculated condition might be worth around $1 to $2, but unless you've got a coin that's in pristine, gem-like condition, we're talking MS65 or higher, you won't be seeing significant value from a standard 1976 penny. So, how do we take a regular 1976 penny and turn it into a valuable coin? Well, let's take a closer look at some of the rare varieties and errors that can make this penny worth a lot more. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1976 penny series is the double die obverse, DDO. This error happens when the coin die is misaligned during the minting process, resulting in doubled images on the coin. For the 1976 penny, the most common signs of the DDO error are visible on the word liberty and the phrase "In God We Trust." The doubling can range from subtle to obvious, with some specimens showing a dramatic effect where the letters appear thickened and almost doubled. If you find one of those pennies in your collection, you could be sitting on a pretty valuable coin. A 1976 DDO penny in lower grades can be worth anywhere from $20 to $50, but if you've got one in high grade, uncirculated condition, it can easily fetch $100 to $300, and if it's graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, it could go for even more, up to $500 or more. Rarest coins. Another key error to watch out for is the no mint mark error. As mentioned earlier, the 1976 penny was minted in both Denver and Philadelphia, with the "Welcome Back to Rarest Coins," where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins and collectibles. If you've ever wondered if a 1986 Lincoln penny could be worth more than its face value, you're in for a treat. In today's video, we'll dive deep into the 1986 Lincoln penny, uncovering the potential value of this often overlooked coin, and showing you how to spot the rare variations and errors that could make it worth a lot of money. Now, at first glance, a 1986 penny might seem like just another coin from the 80s, but when you dig deeper, you'll find there are some really interesting things going on with this particular year. From minting errors to high-grade specimens, this little coin has some potential to surprise you. Rarest coins. So, let's break it all down. Stick around because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your pocket change a little differently. To really understand the value of the 1986 Lincoln penny, let's first take a look at the history behind the Lincoln cent. The Lincoln penny has been part of the American currency system since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and it's been in circulation ever since. By 1986, the Lincoln penny had already undergone several changes. For most of the 20th century, the design featured the famous portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat ears design on the reverse. But starting in 1959, the reverse design changed to the Lincoln Memorial, which is what you'll see on the back of a 1986 penny. The 1986 penny continued to feature this iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, and the minting process was already in full swing at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But while these coins are common, there are a few things that make the 1986 penny worth talking about. Before we get into the rare stuff, let's talk about the base value of a regular 1986 penny. In general, most 1986 pennies are pretty common, meaning they aren't worth much more than 1 cent. You'll find them in circulation, in your change, or maybe tucked away in old jars of pennies that you've accumulated over the years. Depending on their condition, a regular 1986 penny might only be worth 1 to 2 cents, just like any other modern penny. Even in uncirculated condition, you're typically looking at about 10 to 25 cents for a nice, high-grade specimen. So if you've got a 1986 penny lying around, don't get too excited just yet, but keep watching, because we're about to dive into some rare and valuable variations of this coin that could be worth a lot more. One of the key variations that makes the 1986 penny potentially valuable is the double die error. A double die is a type of minting error that occurs when the coin die is misaligned during the striking process, resulting in doubled or ghosted images on the coin. For the 1986 penny, the most noticeable doubling usually appears on the word Liberty and on the date 1986. You may notice that the letters appear thickened, and you might see a shadow or a second set of letters or numbers right next to the first set. Rarest coins. If you find a 1986 penny with noticeable doubling on Liberty or In God We Trust, you might have a valuable double die penny on your hands. While not every 1986 penny will show doubling, it's definitely worth checking. A 1986 penny with the strong double die error can be worth anywhere from $20 to $50 in lower grades. In higher grades, or if the doubling is especially dry. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your ultimate destination for rare coin discoveries and everything you need to know about valuable coins. Now, if you're someone who's digging through your old pennies, especially if you've got a 1968 Lincoln penny in your collection, then you're in the right place. Today, we're going to dive deep into the 1968 Lincoln penny, a coin that many collectors overlook, but with some key varieties and errors, it could actually be worth a lot more than just its face value. Let's find out what makes this penny special. Voiceover. At first glance, the 1968 penny might seem like just another cent from the late 1960s, but when you start looking a little closer, you'll see that there's more to this coin than meets the eye. There are rare varieties, minting errors, and even high-grade examples that could make this seemingly humble penny worth hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars. On camera, before we get into the valuable varieties and errors, let's set the stage with a little history. The 1968 Lincoln penny was minted as the San Francisco Mint. This was a year of significant change in American coinage. The U.S. Mint began producing coins with a new, modern design and also started using special proof and uncirculated sets for collectors. Voiceover. The S-Mint mark on the 1968 penny tells us that it was struck in San Francisco, a mint that has been known for producing proof coins and other special editions. But 1968 was also the beginning of a new era for the Lincoln cent, and with the right eye, you might just find a hidden treasure in those old pennies. Rarest coins. On camera. Now, before we get into the rare stuff, let's talk about what a regular 1968 penny is worth. In most cases, a typical 1968 Lincoln penny in average circulated condition won't bring in a huge amount of cash. You're probably looking at somewhere around 1 or 2 cents, of basically the same value as any other regular penny from the 60s. Voiceover. Even in uncirculated condition, a regular 1968 penny typically fetches about $1 to $2. It's not a rare coin by itself, but if you've got a high-grade example, the value could creep up a bit. On camera. So, what makes this coin really worth more than just its face value? Well, there are certain rare varieties and minting errors that can make a 1968 penny much more valuable. Let's take a closer look. Rarest coins. On camera, holding a coin with a magnifying glass. One of the most sought-after and exciting errors for the 1968 penny is the double die obverse, DDO. A double die is a type of minting error that occurs when the coin die is misaligned or accidentally struck more than once, resulting in doubled or ghosted images on the coin. For the 1968 penny, the most common places you'll see doubling are on the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1968. The doubling can be subtle in some cases, but in others, it can be pretty dramatic. If you find a 1968 penny with visible doubling, especially on the letters or the date, you could have a double die error on your hands. This could significantly boost the value of the coin. Rarest coins. Depending on the strength of the doubling and the coin's condition, a 1968 STDO penny can be worth anywhere from $50 to $100 in lower grades. If the coin is in high grade or has strong, dramatic doubling, its value can easily climb to $500 or more. The best examples, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch prices even higher. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your one-stop shop for everything related to coins and collectibles. Today, we're going to talk about a coin that many people overlook, the 1978 Lincoln penny. If you're someone who's been collecting or even just hoarding pennies, this might be a coin that you have in your collection. But what if I told you that the 1978 Lincoln penny could actually be worth a lot more than just 1 cent? In this video, we're going to explore the rare varieties, minting errors, and high-grade examples that could make this coin worth hundreds of dollars. Stick around, because you won't want to miss out on these hidden treasures. Voiceover. At first glance, the 1978 penny might look like just another standard coin, but there's more to it than meets the eye. Whether you're looking at a rare minting error, a variety that collectors crave, or a coin in top-notch condition, this seemingly ordinary penny can have surprising value. $1 million rarest coins. On camera, let's start with some context. The 1978 Lincoln penny was minted at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D Mint mark. This penny is part of a long-running series that features President Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. For much of its history, the design remained unchanged, but by the late 1970s, coin collectors were starting to take more interest in specific years and variations. Voiceover. The 1978 penny was struck in large quantities. Over 4.3 billion were made that year. So, you might think this makes it a fairly common coin. And you're right on the surface. This coin is no different from any other. However, as we dive deeper, you'll see that there are a few key factors that could make your 1978 penny worth a lot more than face value. On camera, let's talk about what most 1978 pennies are worth in average condition. If you happen to have a regular, worn penny from 1978, don't expect to make a fortune from it. Most of these coins, especially those in circulated condition, are worth only face value 1 cent. Voiceover. In fact, even in well-worn condition, a 1978 penny will still typically fetch only a few cents. If it's in better shape, you might see prices ranging from 10 to 25 cents. Even in mint state or uncirculated condition, it's usually worth only a few dollars. But that's just the baseline value. $1 million rarest coins. On camera. So, what makes certain 1978 pennies more valuable? It all comes down to errors, varieties, and their condition. Let's take a look at what to look for if you want to spot the valuable ones. On camera, holding a magnifying glass, one of the most desirable errors to look for on a 1978 Lincoln penny is the double die obverse, DDO. Error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the minting process, resulting in doubled images, often visible on the letters or numbers. Voiceover. On the 1978 DDO penny, the most obvious signs of doubling can be found on the word Liberty and the phrase "In God We Trust." The doubling could be subtle or more pronounced, but if you spot any ghosted or doubled features in these areas, you may have a valuable error coin on your hands. Rarest coins. So, how much can a 1978 DDO penny be worth? Well, the value really depends on the severity of the doubling and the coin's overall condition. In lower grades, a 1978 DDO can be worth around $20 to $50, but if you've got one in high-grade condition like MS65 or higher, the value can soar, reaching anywhere from $100 to $300 or more. The more noticeable and dramatic the doubling, the more it'll increase the value of the coin. On camera, with the magnifying glass, another interest.